All right, troops. Pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. How you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. How's yourself?
Not too bad. Like, people are going to think that there is a wee bit of a time zone, Twilight Zone thing going on here because there's two gingers on the one screen at the same time. They'll think the apocalypse is coming, you know?
It could also be me slightly from the future.
It could be like, but I'll check the future. I could not grow that length of hair.
I didn't think I could either until we went through lockdown.
Well, that actually brings me to the first question of finding out about you and your origin story. Because one thing we all have in common is that we all have an origins. So, for my audience, please tell us your origin story.
Um, Unfortunately for me, I'm born and raised in Cumbernauld, um, and I'm still here for myself,
Hey,
unfortunately.
in
Um,
fairness, I was born and raised in Airdrie, so there we go.
not too far apart, both kind of dodgy. Well,
Yeah.
Cumbernauld just been voted the ugliest town, so I'm sure that's
Mhm.
not the time that it's been given that award. So
Yeah. Well, in fairness, like Coat Bridge had it for what 3 years running or something like that.
yeah.
What it was like the worst town of Britain. Like I was like, hold on, Coatbridge got something else that Airdrie didn't get. Airdrie's a much better shite hole than Coatbridge is.
It's one of those things where the Airdrie and Coat Bridge kind of merge into each other. There's not
Yep.
really a line down the middle.
What happens is there's Airdrie and there's Coatbridge, but in the middle there's this little bit called Coat Dyke.
Yeah.
There's just this tiny bit, and it's like the no man's land between Airdrie and Coatbridge. It's like, okay, that's where you go. So whereabouts in Cumbernauld are you from exactly?
Abram Hill.
All right. No, because I've been going to
So,
like some of my support meetings and stuff like that, and that's in Kilsyth.
all right, yeah, so not too far. Not too
Yeah.
far away. I've almost got an FK postcode. I'm that close.
Aha.
In
Cumbernauld
the,
is a bit of an odd one in that says it's like because it's got Glasgow ones, it's got FK ones. It's classed as North Lanarkshire and Glasgow. It's kind of like like what Uddingston's like. It can be one part you're north, the next part you're south, and then like another part you're like some like Trigon from the eighth dimension or something like that.
exactly, yeah. Because it's really weird when like you're ordering stuff online and your address sort of auto populates. It shoves Glasgow in there a lot of the time, and I'm like, I suppose technically you are classed as part of Glasgow, but I can see Glasgow like far enough sort of thing, that it's
Yeah,
like I don't really feel part of Glasgow, but I still have a G something postcode. So you
yeah,
just don't know how far the postcode the thing stretches out and around Glasgow
yeah.
sometimes.
It's like when it auto populates with what it says Lanarkshire, and you're like, no, there's a north south divide here.
Yeah.
What think it if you put like the south and Hull, they would kill you. It's the same kind of deal, my friend. Just be very very careful.
Yes,
What?
exactly.
So one of the things that we also know each other from is through the creative arts, and a wee bit starstruck. I got to admit because I remember watching the latest film that you were in, and I was like, "Hey, I get to interview that guy. Awesome!" So how did you
it,
get into like the acting and film world?
it was something I've always been interested in, sort of growing up. I'm a massive Doctor Who fan. And I remember seeing like repeats of like the kind of classic series when I was really young.
Hmm.
And there was something about that that kind of stuck in my mind. And then I remember seeing it again when I was a little bit older. There was like a Doctor Who night thing on, and it was like 1999 or something.
Hmm.
And it was like loads of documentaries about how they made it and things like that. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I'd love to be involved in something like this. And but I'd never had that kind of opportunity. Like I joined the choir in primary school and things like that, and I enjoyed doing drama. Then when we got to high school, we didn't have drama in our school,
Hmm.
and there wasn't that kind of spark at that point in my life to be like, oh, this is something I kind of want to pursue. Because I went to uni and studied a kind of business got a business degree, and it was risk management I studied because it
Mm.
sounded trendy. And it was one of those kind of up and coming things at the time where, oh, there's going to be loads of jobs. But then it's that same thing that everyone sees. It's like, oh, you've got to have so many years' experience to be able to get a job in that industry. And it's like, well, how do you get experience if you can't get a job? So
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'd had that sort of spark in high school, that ability to like go to drama class or something through school, um, then that might have kicked me into doing that at uni. So I might have got onto it a bit earlier. But I was quite shy in high school, so I never kind of put myself out there to go to like a drama class outside the school or anything like that. I did used to do like sort of taekwondo, and I did like keyboard lessons and stuff. So I suppose kind of doing a bit of keyboard was sort of a little bit creative.
Yeah.
But it was around about those times where exams were coming up, and I sort of started giving everything up to study for exams and things. So the kind of creative sort of fell by the wayside. And then it wasn't until maybe 7, 8 years ago or so. Sort of my parents were like, "Oh, what do you want for Christmas?" And something in me was just like, you know what, I fancy trying acting classes. It was like, I found one online, and I was like, if you want to give me money to put towards that, that would be great. And then I did a kind of a part-time course. I was still working full-time in a bank, and I used to go and do that sort of night classes. And then I just kind of did it as something to do. You know, I was like, oh, this might be a fun hobby, something I've always wanted to try. And I found the kind of confidence to go and do it. And then it just caught me. And I was like, well, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, it must be something like actors in the financial sector as well, because I was the financial sector for about 5 years as well, like the banking side of it. And it was just something I was like, well, I'm here, might as well. But I was still kind of carrying on and stuff. And I think that's where Airdrie and Coatbridge had the slight advantage over you, because we did have drama in high school. It was just something I was always into. I loved it. And I just kept going with. There was a drama class that I was able to go to as a teenager. I had zero confidence as well, but it was just I wanted to be involved in it. No matter what, and it was just something that helped kind of bring it out. But so when was your kind of your first break in that kind of industry?
I don't know if I've ever had a break. I don't know what defines. I think so many people kind of look at it. If you go up to someone in the street, they'll be like, "Oh, have you been on telly?" That's your. Whereas if you talk to people that you kind of acted with and stuff, like, oh, doing like a read through at like a networking event, you know, getting up on stage in front of people, and like that's a break. So I think it just depends on who you're talking to as to whether you've had.
Yeah. Well, when did you personally feel like, you'd had that kind of, that, we'll say a light bulb moment where you're like, hey, right, I'm ready. Let's go and let's do this.
I think when I'd got so far like doing acting classes that I was like, I feel like I've learned enough. I feel like I need to go out and actually put what I've learned into practice and see if it works out there. So maybe getting my first short film is probably that kind of break to be like, right, I've auditioned for something. The person on the other end has thought I'm good enough to be in their film. So someone thinks I'm doing an all right job here. Or whether they just had no one else apply for it and no one's fast enough to apply for my film, we'll have them on board. That's fine. And the first ever film I did, it could have put me off.
All right.
I was another kind of person. Just it was a shame because the idea was good, but just things happened to the production that hampered it, and it didn't turn out as good as everyone kind of hoped it would. But in my head, I was like, "This is cool." So this is seeing how things can go wrong.
Yeah.
And I can learn from that. So I took it as a learning experience rather than a kind of what's the point of trying anymore? Like is this how it's going to be sort of thing. So I was trying to approach things with a positive mindset as much as possible. But yeah, I suppose from there I was like, no, well, this is cool. I've done my work, I've learned my script and learned my lines and have ideas of what I can put into this character, even though it was only like a kind of 5-6 minute film sort of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I felt like what I was putting into practice, what I've learned. So
Oh, when you got that, like that was the best kind of attitude to have about it. Like, and it's probably a good thing as well because you were seeing instead of having the pathway that everybody talks about where everything's going to be great and then you get this and it comes out and it's like, hey, you had the other side of it. You went, okay, things maybe haven't went well, but what can I learn from this and what can I use to grow and learn from it? Like, and obviously you didn't need to wait as long because the film that I've seen you in, or the little short that I saw you in, was Slate, Abomination.
right, yeah.
I got to say, man, like you absolutely blew it out the water, mate. Absolutely
Thank you.
brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Also when Chris Scott had put it up, I was like, right, I'm checking that out because I'd interviewed Erin as well, beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, I'll be keep it. I was like Palpatine. I'm like, I watch your progress with great interest. So second I saw it, I'm like, right, I'm gonna do it. Like also, I did a review on it as well as because Chris had asked if I could, and I was like, aye, why not? But I was thoroughly impressed with everything that was on it. And everything that you'd done in it was really, really strong. I was also like on the gingers.
Yes.
We've got that going, which
Representing.
worked out well. But how did that come about as well?
No, like first of all, I really appreciate you saying such nice things. Like it's always good. I think it's a hard thing in this industry. I think as long as I always feel like as long as one person likes what I'm doing, then that's enough for me to keep going.
Hmm.
And I'm really lucky that I have a really supportive girlfriend. And she has 2 kids as well. And they're always like, "Oh, when can we watch your next film?" So I have a team behind me, which is really, really cool. But to have other people say nice things, it's always gives you a bit of something inside. Right, okay, someone else thinks I'm decent at this, so I'll keep the next wee bit and see what happens. But no, it's a really strange one actually. I kind of got a message out of the blue from Chris last, and I don't know if maybe someone couldn't make the filming anymore. Someone had pulled out or something happened. But he was like, "Oh, I've got this part. Do you want to give it a bash?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I just kind of sent all my stuff over so they could send it on to the rest of the kind of team. And they were like, "Yeah, cool." And we're filming in like less than 2 weeks. So, but this had already been established. Like there was group chats and stuff going on for months. So I felt like I was coming in very last minute the project. But I was like, I'm not gonna let it phase me. I'm just do the work I normally do and turn up and do the best that I can, and hopefully that works for everyone. But it was one of those kind of weird experiences where you kind of turn up and you feel like everyone kind of already knows one another. I've been involved in this a while, and I'm just kind of walking in as if I don't really belong here. It's like I've walked into a party that I've not been invited to.
Would you say it was a little bit of imposter syndrome kind of thing where you were like, okay, what I'm here, but what's going on kind of deal?
I mean, very much so. Like, I mean, people will tell me I do a good job, and I'll go home after the shoot, and I'm like, nah, I don't feel like I nailed that. I don't feel like I did that justice. So, imposter syndrome follows me around a lot, and it's something I'm working on, but it does still creep up on me. And when I say like when I walk into a party that I've not been invited to, that's not anything said about anyone else.
Yeah.
I was very welcome, and everyone was lovely. Was people that I'd never met, people that I'd worked with before. So everyone was really cool. I was able to chat away to everyone, and it was a really good shoot. It was long and it was warm. Because we're filming in a hotel and the air conditioning wasn't really running in the room that we were filming. And it was June. I'm sure it was June. It was
not ideal conditions for the ginger.
Not ideal conditions for the ginger people. But no, it was really good fun. And enjoyed the week. It was just over kind of Saturday, Sunday. And it was by the beach as well. I could look out the window and see the beach, which is something you don't see very often living in Cumbernauld. So
very true. Well, it's that kind of the Anakin Skywalker. I don't like sand.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, there we go. That's definitely something. Like I'm more the other side of I don't like sand, but I don't want to slaughter younglings. So So I'm pretty okay with that. But when you were seeing, obviously, like you're obviously in front of the camera doing, doing like a very, very good job, like with a really strong cast. Like I've got to say, like then you're also seeing Chris from behind the scenes as well, like getting everything sorted, like and from the technical aspects as well. Like, uh, do you think like you're gonna try your hand behind the scenes as well because you've got from when I've spoke to you, you've got quite a knowledge of things that go on behind the scenes as well, and that fascinates you too. Is that something you would look to maybe do, like transfer it over?
I have done it a couple of times. I've produced a couple of things, a couple of short films, a couple of which have went on to win some awards, which is pretty cool.
Mm,
Um, I've helped to co-write stuff and I've helped to cast things as well.
yeah.
Um, even though doing some of the stuff like behind the camera, I still want to be in front of it.
Mm,
It's drawn me to behind the camera because it's quite stressful.
mm,
Being in front of the camera is quite stressful as well, but it's a kind of stress that I quite enjoy.
yeah.
Whereas behind the camera, the stress of that is not the stress that I enjoy. So I think I'm definitely more suited to being in front of the camera within myself. But I
Mm,
do the stuff that I have worked on, sort of behind the camera. Some of it's worked out, some of it hasn't so much. Um, but some of the ones that haven't worked out have made me think, I'll only do it for people that I know that are like really want my help with something.
mm,
Then I'm quite a sucker for that. When people come and ask for help, I always like to help people.
yeah.
So um, I work a lot with a team called Collective Voices, and they
Mm,
normally ask for help because it's only the two of them. So
mm,
they take a bit bogged down trying to sort of prep their shoots and stuff. So they'll be like, "Oh, can you come and do like put out a casting call for us, or do you know anyone that can help in this area or that area?" So it's quite nice that people think highly enough of me that I'll recommend people to do things that um, will help them with
mm.
them. So,
Yeah, well, the stuff that you've won awards for, like, and obviously Slate has done very well, what in terms of that as well. So, what's next in like the Slate universe? Like, are we allowed to get any Ginger exclusives, or like, is that still lock and key, hush hush?
uh, as far as I know, well, I'm dead.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. It's like you may be dead, but like you're not like dead behind the scenes. It could be like we still speak to a lot of the guys, and we're like, is there something here?
As far as I know, no, we maybe have me and Chris have maybe had a chat that there is scope to bring my character back, whether it's a prequel or
Mm,
whether he has a twin somewhere.
mm,
Um, but we have had a little conversation about potentially doing something else in that universe in the future, but it's only been a very small conversation.
yeah.
Nothing else sort of come about. There's no filming due
Mm,
as far as I'm aware. I think they've done something else, maybe another little kind of short thing, but
mm,
it's not what I was involved in. Um,
yeah.
so I'm not involved in anything in
Yeah.
that as of yet. So unfortunately, I'm not privy to any other information that's going on there.
Yeah. Well, you know what it's like. You've got to. Well, I've got to go digging for truffles. See if I can find
Oh no,
anything.
exactly. Yeah, if there's something I could give away,
Yeah,
without,
definitely.
then I totally would.
Yeah, and if you ever need, like, if they ever say they're bringing you back as a twin, well, obviously I've got twin boys. You can come and observe them for market research.
Yes, that would be amazing. Thank you.
So you can go right. They're identical twins, but there is subtle differences. How would I do this? How would I work it? It's like people might be like, Andrew, you're pimping your 5-year-olds out like for market research, and I'm like, hey, I did it for my own channels. It's not fair. But just to keep
No,
but and
I've been exchanged.
yeah, hey, I don't leave them excluded. Like I would happily have my kids just go and like if you guys are interested, there you go. In terms of like your own acting work, like by the time like this recording drops, it'll be January in 2024. So, what does 2024 look like for you if you had your kind of crystal ball to see what was coming? What would you think you would want?
I mean, everybody wants more paid work.
Hmm.
You know, that's. I think it's quite hard when you're starting out. You can obviously throw yourself into a lot of projects, whether that be student films, and things. And then I think there's only so much you can get out of that, where you feel like you need to push yourself to do something with, like, a bit better quality, a bit more money behind it, because you're a business, so essentially you're kind of trying to step up that ladder. And it's hard, especially for someone like me who is quite defeatist at times. So I'm constantly having battles with myself to be like, am I good enough? Am I good enough to sort of push myself to the next level? Am I good enough to compete with other actors at a certain level to make a dent in the industry, to be like, wait, well, I can make a business out of this. This is viable for me. So it's a constant battle. So I think next year's I kind of need to, for me, try and make that leap and get myself out there a bit more. I feel like the past couple of years have kind of hampered that a little. It's kicked up a lot of stuff mental health wise for me over the past couple of years. It's sort of stopped me from throwing myself into the industry as much as I would really like to. I have done a fair few things. I sort of taken a step back and sort of decided to sort of pick and choose a little bit more on what kind of projects that I would like to do, rather than just kind of put myself on for everything. Because I feel like there's only so many times you can play a cop in like a film or a sort of zero budget film, So I think to start out with, it was like, I'll try and do as many things as I can. But now I'm kind of trying to do things where people are looking to sort of showcase their work rather than people just sort of making stuff just be like, well, we've made something, this is really cool, like we'll put it on YouTube or whatever. But it's cool to work with people who are really passionate about what they're doing. That won't just kind of shoot something. They're like, cool, we're happy with that, move on. They're like, no, we want to make this the best thing it can be, because it causes me to sort of, right, if they are going in with that attitude, they want to do the best they can do, then it makes me like, right, I need to up my game here. Right, let's sort of get stuck in and see what we can do with it. So I think more of and a lot of it comes down to luck. It depends who you can land in front of a lot of the times and who sees your stuff. And well, unfortunately, you can't teach luck. So you just need to keep plugging away, and hopefully someone recognises that you've got some talent, even though I don't think I do necessarily. But some people around me think that I'm all right, because there's people that have worked with me multiple times. So if they thought I was rubbish, then surely they would find someone else. So it's little things like that I kind of try to keep in my head, that some people do think you're actually all right at what you do. And you've not really been seen by very many people. So it's one of those things that if you manage to land a project that's going to submit the film to like loads of festivals and things, you're getting yourself out there in front of a lot of people. And I've been involved in a few projects where that was the kind of promise by people, and that sort of never happened. So it's you kind of get a bit deflated with that, because you think, well, this is going to get shown in front of loads of people, and people will be able to see your work, and then you might get some feedback from there. And I kind of say that a lot to my girlfriend. Like I say, she supports me a lot, and when I get down about these things, she's kind of like she's like, if I'm honest, like, she's like, I would tell you if you were crap. And she's like, I want to be with you, so I want you to make a success of this. And I was like, she's like, if I didn't think you were going to, then I would tell you. I'm gonna bullshit you, So it's nice to kind of have someone in your corner like that who would tell you straight if you were doing a rubbish job. As she used to do a lot of kind of acting and musical theatre when she was younger, so she has a bit of a background on that. So although she is my partner, but she's not like biased in that way, because she's like, no, I do want you to get a family, like we're now a family sort of thing. So she's like, if you're gonna make a success of it, then I would tell you that I think you're good enough to do that.
Mm. I
So
think she's maybe eyeing for a wee reality TV show for when you do make it. That kind of, like the Travis Barker one, Blink 182. What is it? That kind of thing is like she's like, yeah, well, when he does well, I'll get my reality TV show.
well, see, that's the thing. She doesn't like being in front of the camera. So
Ah,
I've roped her in to do a few things behind camera. Um,
mm,
she's enjoyed that. But yeah, her confidence isn't great. But I'm working on
mm.
trying to get that back for her so that maybe one day she'll be back in front of the camera or
Yeah,
on stage. She's done a lot of stage work, so
yeah.
that would
It's
be
something quite interesting. Like when you get if you meet your partners through that type of world, then they find out they actually don't really want to be involved in it. It was the same with my wife. Like we met at college doing acting. I was just finishing and she was just starting, but eventually she did like the kind of 1 year of it and then it just killed all the passion for her. And I was like, well, you could do something like behind the scenes. I mean, I'm constantly trying to do projects here, there, and everywhere. You could help out with that. And then she was like, she's like, no, that's your thing. And I'm like, it's not really because I met you through that. So
yeah,
technically, so it is, it's our thing. You just the confidence wasn't there, but she's found her own stuff, like obviously in good honor. But at the same time, I was like, come into my world. I'm okay with you coming into my world. I think it was because the
yeah.
first time. I think it was because the first time I'd done it, like, I'd done like the theater stuff, and she was like, "Oh, are you going to cast me in something?" And I was like, "No, not unless you audition," kind of thing. But it was because like I'd been with someone, I'd let them in all that, and then it just got totally ripped to shreds. So she was very much like, "Okay, I'll step back just in case." But then when
Yeah,
I'm like, "Okay, I'm letting you into the world. You're allowed to come in," and she's just like, "Nah, slam door,
yeah,
bollocks." But and one thing you were talking about there, like saying you weren't you have the kind of defeatist attitudes, like you're not sure about your own your ability if you're good enough and stuff. Well, that's something that a lot of like people in the industry experience. Like, I mean, they don't outwardly say it, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them experience the imposter syndrome stuff. And I say this to a lot of people that have it as well, because it was a wee light bulb moment that I had. If you have imposter syndrome, the only reason you've got it is because you're doing something right. If you don't have imposter syndrome, then you're not doing anything. Like you're just kind of like, okay, I'm just plodding along, it's fine. But if you're making something of yourself, which you're doing, if you're doing something good, which you are, you have that imposter syndrome. And it's like, oh, I've got it because I'm pushing myself and I'm doing well. So it's like a double-edged sword having the imposter syndrome because you wouldn't have it unless you were doing something good.
yeah.
Because people that think I'm the ticket and they don't have imposter syndrome, I'm like, well, actually, you're pretty, pardon my French, they're pretty shit. What? What? But if you've got it, then that's a good thing. It keeps you humble, keeps you grounded, but also shows you're on the right path. You're doing the right things because you're swinging in circles that you thought couldn't swing in those circles a few years ago. What? And
Yeah.
I've seen how well that you've done with stuff. What? I've seen how good you are. What? And you more than deserve to keep chasing the dream, man, and keep going for it. But we've all got faith in you. I know. I definitely got faith in you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's hard. Like, see, if you work at a regular job, you obviously have a
Mm,
manager who tells you how you're doing. You get your quarterly review or whatever, and you get your
mm,
rate. You're like, right, well, we're obviously working in the bank. You're like, oh, you need to take this many calls a day, sort of thing. And if you're not doing that, you're doing rubbish.
mm.
Although not necessarily true, because actually you're probably doing a better job if you're not meeting the targets because you're actually treating people like a normal person rather than
Mm-hmm.
a number that you've got to get off the phone.
Yeah.
But it's hard in this kind of industry because there's no manager, there's nobody like, oh, yeah, you scored whatever this month or this quarter, or whatever. So it's just you've got to kind of keep telling yourself, no, you're doing a good job. And it's hard when you've got another voice being like, no, but you're that.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but
Mm. But it's one of those ones that you look at it and you go, right, technically you are your own boss. So you've got like your positives and you've got your negatives, like of how well you think you're doing compared to how others see it. I mean, even doing this, like people will say to me, "Oh, you've got X amount of subscribers and you got X amount of views. Oh, you're doing great." But at the same time, I'm like, but could I do more? Could I get more? Could I? What am I going to be? like that conduit to help someone get a wee bit of recognition or a wee bit more publicity, or even just, are they having a good time? Are they enjoying being on the show? And you've got to fight those battles all the time. And I understand what you mean. You're constantly fighting your inner critic, but that's why you have us around you, mate, to go, you're doing great. Fuck the inner critic.
No, exactly. Like I said, it's like all you need. Well, all I need really is one person to go, do you know what? I actually enjoy the stuff that you do. And as long as I've got one fan, I don't care. Like, I never got in to be famous.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm into it because I love doing what I do.
Well, and you're good at what you do, my friend. So if you have to watch this back when it comes out, just to hear what this one guy saying, you're good at what you do and keep going, keep doing it. It's a little record for you.
I'll always have that. Thank you.
Good. We are starting to come up on time, so I'll round off with asking you the final question to ask all my guests. If you could give one piece of advice to anybody struggling with mental health issues at this point in time, what would that piece of advice be and why?
Talk to someone. If you can recognize that that there is something wrong, or if you even think that there's something wrong, talk to someone. Even if there's not anything wrong, not doing any harm, talk to someone. I think there's this whole big stigma about asking for help. And there shouldn't be. Like, you used to ask for help all the time when you were in primary school, with your maths or whatever. It's like, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you're not allowed to ask for help.
Yeah. Definitely, man. Definitely.
Especially during the lockdown. Like, a lot of stuff was thrown up for me personally. Stuff that I went through years ago. Like, I had a lot of health issues. Found out I had kidney failure. And ended up getting a kidney transplant. And I dealt with that really positively. And then after that, it seemed that's when all the negative thoughts kind of come in, because you think, oh, you've gone through this big thing, you've kept positive, you've got through the other side, you've got your life back, and then you're off, away to go. But all those thoughts that I pushed down, about death and stuff like that, when you've not got all these people around you making sure you're okay, and you've not got doctors and nurses and family come to see you anymore, and you're just like, oh, you've had your operation, right? Okay, that's you. You're supposed to kind of go back to normal. It's like when you're alone and you're not keeping positive, you don't have to have that mindset anymore. It's like all these kind of thoughts, like, should I have survived this? Should I be here? And it didn't come until after the sort of pandemic where I found myself sort of questioning these things a lot. And I think being with Megan, who's my girlfriend, being with her, she's the first person I've been able to feel comfortable around. And I think that's for that stuff to come out. At that point, the stuff that I'd been holding back for, would have been a good, like, maybe 4 or 5 years by that point, that all come out. And it came out in a way that it'd been building up to. And it just sort of burst out of me. And it came out in a way that's affected what I'm trying to do as a career. So I'm like, right, I went through all this stuff. I finally know what I want to do with my life. And now I struggle with traveling. With something I've never struggled with in my life before until just a couple of months before the pandemic. Now I struggle to, like, drive on the motorway. I struggle when I get on public transport. And I'm like, the past few years have just been a battle, because to do the career I want to pursue, you need to travel. And up until this point, where it's like, I've always traveled, I love traveling, drive anywhere, jump on a train, jump on a plane, whatever. But now I'm like, I sort of lose control of my body at points when I have to drive on the motorway, So it's like, I've been, the past few years I've been questioning everything, but having people in the corner, like, I ended up going to therapy and talking things out. So I needed a push, to do that. And I'm lucky that I had someone there to be like, yeah, something's not right. Or for them to recognize me and me to be like, oh, something's not right. So to have that push. And I think if I'd had some knowledge back when I was going through the stuff with the kidney failure, I would have reached out and I would have spoken to someone then. And part of that's to do with me, part of that's to do with the system as well, because there should be something in place for people as young as I was. I was in my sort of late 20s going through that. And it's really something like you go to dialysis and you sit in this room and blood gets put around the machine and cleaned, but you're sitting in a room with people in their 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And it's like lines of chairs with like some older people. So you're like, it's something that doesn't really affect many younger people. And when it does, there should be things in place there, I think, for people to like talk about it and get things off their chest. But in my mind, I was like, I need to keep positive to get through this. But in doing that, I think it's hampered me in a way now. But it's all coming out now, and I'm slowly getting over that with help from people around me. Yeah. But if you have, and my advice, if you have anything going on in your head that you think this might affect me, then just talk to someone, anyone.
Yeah. Oh, mate, from one ginger to another, I am so fucking proud of you, man. Honestly. I had no idea the stuff that he'd went through. I actually had a friend that went through similar. He actually couldn't make her wedding because he was going through what it looked like his kidneys were going to go. Luckily, he didn't need the transplant. He was able to catch it in time. And every day I'm really grateful that he's still here. And I'm really grateful you're still here. You're going to fucking smash it, man. I have every faith in you. And if you ever need a hand with anything, even if it's just a fellow redhead to talk to, you know that I'm here.
Appreciate
always
it.
All right.
Same with you. Anytime.
Cheers.
I'm here.
Well, until next time, my faithful followers, I've been Andrew Durnan. This has been the brilliant Alastair Rennie. Check out Slate Abomination as well if you want to see some of his work. And give the guy gigs. More gingers need work. We are an oppressed people. Until next time, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.